to the, I don't even know what date it is now, November 8th, 2022, Admin and Finance Committee. Stefan is at work. He's unfortunately not able to join us this evening, so I'll be doing it for the balance of the evening. So call to order, attendance. I believe everybody, are we in full quorum at this one, or full board?
Through the chair, we have quorum this evening. We're not, we have a number of regrets.
Okay.
Cindy can rhyme off the regrets.
Can you rhyme them off, please?
Our regrets are from Sean Xavier, Bria Corbett, and Stefano Pascucci.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
And
And Anna should be, sorry, I apologize. Anna should be joining the meeting, Trustee Anna De Silva,
okay.
and both student trustees have not signed in.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to continue moving this. I don't have the land acknowledgement because, like I said, I can't print things out. Could you mind reading the land acknowledgement, Daniel, or find somebody who can do it?
absolutely, I can, but through the chair, prior to moving on to that, there was a taupe sheet distributed this evening. I just want to go through the items on the taupe sheet so everybody's on the same page, if that's all right.
Yes.
So there is.
Sorry, Daniel.
Yep.
Daniel,
Yes.
I believe you have to do the prayer, then the land acknowledgement, then you can deal with the taupe sheet items before you get to the agenda.
So the one of the taupe sheet items was just reorganizing. Right now, we still have it as the land acknowledgement and then the opening prayer, again, which is an oversight on my behalf. I apologize to everybody.
All right, so let's do an opening prayer then. Do you have an opening prayer? Because I can't print anything out.
I do. If
Okay,
everyone is okay with me proceeding with the opening prayer.
move please. Go ahead.
So if you can all please join me in the sign of our faith, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community and help all your people. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in the face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Father, we praise you forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Appreciate that. Opening prayer.
Land acknowledgement.
now.
Sure, the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that we are on the sacred Indigenous territory and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for being stewards of this land.
Thank you very much. Any comments from anybody at this point? Seeing none, approval of the agenda. I'd like to move approval of agenda.
So through the chair, prior to moving the agenda, I just, again, on the taupe sheet, we have an addition to in camera, which would be item M4A.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we're looking for approval of the agenda as amended.
Anyone would like to move approval of the agenda, please?
I move, Thomas.
Hi, thank you, Thomas. Thomas moves it. We're in committee, so you only need a mover. So any opposed? Seeing none, fine. Thank you very much. Within the approval agenda, we have the approval of the calendar items is connected at the same time, correct, Marianne?
No, so first of all, what you've approved is the ability to add that item to the agenda because it wasn't originally on the agenda.
Okay.
So that motion was to add item M4A to the agenda. Now you have to approve the agenda as amended.
As amended.
Okay, and as amended, approve the agenda as amended. We would like to
Darryl.
move it, please. Daryl, thank you, Daryl. Welcome back. Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you very much.
So through the chair, we move on to item 4A, which is the construction progress report. It is for receipt. I asked for a receipt prior to opening up to any questions for Superintendent Thomas.
Does anybody want to move this motion?
I move, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Luz. Appreciate it. Anybody opposed? Seeing none. Okay, thank you very, very much. Thanks, Luz.
You're welcome.
Any questions for regarding the progress report? None. Thank you very much. Declaration of interest. I have that on my sheet. Here it is. Declaration for it because I have a family member who's a member of OECTA. Item A6. Item L1. Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I have an interest. I have family members or members of OECTA.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I do, Mr. Chairman, have members of 2026 and OECTA.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we need a motion to move that later on. Is that correct?
Yeah, so through the chair, we're moving that to item L1.
We're moving the issues of interest to L1. Anyone would like to move that, please? Daryl, thank you, Daryl. Any opposed? Seeing none, we move forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
So through the chair, we move on to item A6, which is the approval of the minutes of the Administration and Finance Committee meeting of October 4th, less declared items.
Okay, who would like to move that? The approval of the business arising minutes. Stefano's not here, so anyone else could do it.
So through the chair, we're just approving the minutes at this point. We'll have
That's
an
right.
approval of the
The
business
actual-
arising.
Yes.
I'll move it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sharon. Sharon, right? Oh, Sharon, right?
Just share.
Okay.
Trustee Hoban, that was correct.
So moved. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, thank you very much.
So through the chair, we move on to item 6A, which is business arising. I ask for receipt, and if there are any questions, staff will be happy to address them.
Any movements for receipt of the minutes? Anybody? Anyone? Okay. Sharon,
Look,
why don't you, is Anna the Silva one? No, okay, Sharon, would you mind doing this, please? Move it.
I am online.
Okay, let Anna do it, please. Anna will move. Is that okay, Anna?
Yeah,
I
I
want
will
your,
move it.
I want your guys' names to be prevalent today. Okay, any opposed? Seeing none, move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Daniel, go ahead, please.
So thank you. And through the chair, at this point in the ANF meeting, we're looking for a motion to recess the Administration and Finance Committee meeting until the completion of the special board meeting.
Okay, fair enough. Frank DeCosta, is that okay if you move that? Frank, do you want to move that? Okay, is anybody else?
Yes.
I'll
Frank,
move it, Mr. Chairman. I
Trustee
put up my hand.
DeCosta.
Thank you, Frank. I don't have any picture here, sorry. Okay, Frank has moved it. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none. Done. Okay, so we're going to end up now in admin and finance. The start at 7:15.
So through the chair, we're going to, for those watching,
Not admin and finance, sorry. Go ahead.
we're going to recess the Administrative and Finance Committee meeting, and we're going to open up the special board meeting. And with that, I will hand it over to Director Mazzarato.
Thank you.
And just to
Thank you,
clarify,
everybody.
no,
Appreciate
you don't leave this meet.
Yeah,
Right.
no one leaves the meeting. We're just
Right.
transitioning from
So
one to the other.
There will be a sign that, there'll be a sign flashing on the screen that says we're in special board meeting. Okay,
Right.
so over to you, Chair Hoban.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We do have an opening prayer for this board meeting. Please join me in the sign of our faith in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Almighty God, our Father in heaven, from whom all goodness and truth on earth have come forth, grant us, the Catholic community gathered at this meeting, the vision to recognize and the vigor to espouse sound principles of educational theory and practice in a spirit of balanced judgment and the proper perspective. Give us also the courage to turn always onto the path of higher goodness in our deliberations, administrative decisions, and courses of actions. And dear Lord, please walk with us as we move through these next few months in Duncanville. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. The next item on our agenda is our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the lands which constitute the present-day city Mississauga as part of Mississauga and Brampton, Bolton, Caledon, as part of the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, the Wyandot Nations. We recognize these peoples and their ancestors as peoples who inhabited these lands since the time immemorial. The city of Mississaugas, Brampton, Caledon, and Bolton, home to many global Indigenous peoples. The next item on our agenda, Madam Director, is the approval of this agenda.
That's correct.
We have no additions to this agenda, as I believe.
That's
We
correct.
yeah.
Special board meeting is only a one item agenda.
Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated by Daryl D'Souza?
I second that.
As seconded by Trustee Thomas. Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you. We have no declaration of interest. Approval of the minutes of the special board meeting from November 3rd, 2022. Could I have a mover?
So I move.
Thomas,
Moved by trustee Thomas, seconded by trustee Frank DeCossola. Anyone opposed? Carried. We have no pastors' remarks, awards and presentations, delegation, or updates, reports from trustees for receipt. No updates, reports of committees, updates, information reports from administration for receipt. No trustee committee administration reports requiring action. Madam Director?
Through the chair, you have no notices of motion or additional business. Questions asked of and by board trustees specifically related to the one agenda item. There should be none because it's an in-camera item. So now it would be a motion to move to in-camera.
So could I have a motion to move in camera? A move by trustee Anna De Silva. Seconded by trustee Daryl D'Souza. Anyone opposed? Carried. So now we're going to move in camera.
So through the chair, I believe we're all in public session again.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're back, welcome back to our public session for our special board meeting. Could I have the Rising report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only item we discussed at the agenda for the in-camera session of the special board meeting of August 8, 2022 is the letter to ministry regarding financial issue and the approval of the minutes of special board meeting on November 3rd, 2022.
Thank you, Luis de Rosario. May I have a motion to accept this report?
So I move, Thomas.
Trustee Thomas, second by trustee Daryl D'Souza. Anyone opposed? Carried.
Just one point, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Please go
I
ahead.
think Trustee Del Rosario mentioned August 8th instead of November 8th.
Oh.
Did
you
I?
didn't-
Oh,
Yeah.
so sorry. I thought
Sorry. So
It's
we'll
November.
correct that, we'll correct that in the minutes, that it's, that she said
Sorry.
that it's November. It's a wishful thinking kind of thing. Okay, thank you for that, trustee D'Souza. All right, so now I'd like a motion to move out of this special board meeting, and we'll be going back to our public administration and finance meeting. Thank you. Could I have a motion to do this? Trustee Anna De Silva will move this. Trustee Frank DeCosta will second it. Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Daniel, how do we get to
Yeah.
where we are?
So thank you. And through the chair, we're back at the Administration and Finance Committee meeting.
So we're staying here?
We are. So if you'd like, I'll work us through the agenda.
Okay, just bear with me. I'm trying to find out where.
You're on, so through the chair, we have no pastors' remarks. We have no awards or presentations, no delegations. So we are on item E, which is updates, information, and reports for trustees for receipt.
Daniel, I have waiting for others to join still. Is that causing an issue? Because I can't get stuff, I can't get the agenda. I can't pull down the agenda.
We are all
Let me
Here?
try this. Let me try this 1 second. Okay, for some reason I don't have the agenda. You have to hold my hand on. Okay,
sure, absolutely, through the chair. So we are on
Go ahead.
item
go ahead, please. Thank you.
E1, regular reports, which would be the Ontario Catholic School Trustees Association report, if there is one.
Is there a report from the Trustees Association?
we do not have a report at this time,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
And Mr. Chair, I would like to thank trustee Luz de Rosario for being my partner at the Oxta table. She's been a great partner, and I look forward to having a new member at the Oxta table after our November swearing in of our new board. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that we have been sending out all the important updates to all of the trustees around any public information on negotiations, as well as other information. And it's important that the trustees read these updates from Oxta because it's all pertinent information. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to the board.
Thank you,
You've done an
Sharon.
Incredible job. Thank you, Luz, for that. And thank you, Sharon, for that as well. Truly appreciate it.
So through the chair, I ask for receipt of that
Would you
general
like to move receipt of
report.
that report, please? Anybody? We'll receive the report.
So I move, Thomas.
Thomas, thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, next item.
So move through the chair, we move on to item E2, which is good news items.
Good news items. Anybody? Seeing none, move forward.
There's nothing under item F. We move on to item G, which is updates, information, and reports from administration for receipt. And our first item is G1, student transportation update and service delivery. And prior to inviting Superintendent Thomas to present the report, I ask for receipt.
Can you move receipt?
I'll move, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, trustee Yanika. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you and good evening. And through the
Thank you.
chair, thank you. Through the chair, I am going to actually invite Manager of Transportation from StopR, Roy Warenga, to present this evening's report.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And through the chair, I'm pleased to provide you with the following update on service delivery by Student Transportation Appeal Region and service to Transport Wellington Dufferin Student Transportation Services. This past September marked the return of full transportation services of both consortia. Staff at StopR and STWDST worked very hard over the summer months preparing bus routes and meeting with our contracted bus operators, ready to, number one, to monitor their driver status and their training programs, and also to ensure that all of our vehicles would be retrofitted in time with the new amber warning light system for September. September startup went relatively well. There was some significant delays during the first few weeks of school that were mostly associated with your typical startup issues. These are all listed in your report. These delays did resolve themselves after a few weeks as parents, students, schools, and bus drivers settled into the routines. StopR does track daily delay information and has provided in your report a charts illustrating the total number of delays by week and delay time, and a chart listing the 3 Dufferin Peel schools that have experienced the most delays during September and October. Under driver status, both StopR and STWDSTS monitor their bus operators monthly to ensure they have adequate number of drivers and spare drivers, and our operators continue to recruit and hire new drivers. StopR and STWDSTS are in a much better position than many other consortia in the province who are still canceling bus routes on a daily basis due to driver shortages. Under courtesy transportation, StopR was successful in assigning courtesy seats 1 week earlier than in previous years. This all began on September 26th and was completed by mid-October. Under communication, StopR has just sent out our fall-winter newsletter that details our weather zones that are used to communicate bus cancellations. And the newsletter can be found on our website at stopr.ca. Under safety training, last August, StopR held its annual first-time rider safety program. And this year it was in person since COVID. So we're really excited to get kids and their parents back on the buses to learn all this important safety rules. This year, parents could also register online, pre-register for one of the many programs we offered. And StopR is extremely pleased to report that we had over 1,500 parents with 900 children attend this very important student safety event. So moving forward, this is something we really want to enhance and promote. We see this as a very important annual event. School Bus Safety Week was October 17th to 21st. StopR took the opportunity to post daily school bus safety messages out on Twitter. We also encourage parents to visit our website, specifically the safety pages with safety videos and our first-time rider safety booklet. School Bus Driver Appreciation Day was on Wednesday, October 19th. StopR shared school bus driver thank you messages and appreciation posters to bus operators, schools, and parents. StopR is also pleased to announce 2 new online school bus safety programs that are being offered to schools. These programs are approved and funded by the Ministry of Education, and they are presented by Intertrain. So StopR will be promoting this important student safety program as well. In conclusion, while there were certainly typical startup challenges through September, both StopR and STWDSTS consortia were able to respond to most issues in a timely manner, and we continue to meet with our operators to ensure we have an adequate number of bus drivers, but also that to ensure safe and effective service for our school communities. This is our report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Roy. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions? Very thorough. Thank you very, very much. All in favor of move the receipt of the, not receive, sorry, receive the presentation.
We have received the
We
report.
received it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much, Roy. Appreciate it. Next item.
Thank you. Through the chair, we move on to item G2, which is the boundary adjustment for St. Benedict and St. Andrew Catholic Elementary Schools. And prior to inviting Superintendent Thomas to present the report, I ask for receipt.
Anybody would like to move receipt?
Daryl,
Yes, Daryl, I was just gonna ask you. Okay, Daryl, moved by Daryl, and we're going to need a second, all in favor? So any opposed? Seeing none, okay, fine. Thank you, Daryl. Okay, thank you. Daniel,
Thank,
first.
thank you. And through the chair, now that we are back into a more normal routine in terms of our planning department operations, our planning department is once again resuming the work of examining our existing school attendance boundaries and looking to potentially rebalance enrollments as needed to address potential accommodation issues. And in this vein, we this evening are presenting on page 22 a report around a boundary adjustment affecting St. Benedict and St. Andrew Catholic Elementary Schools in Orangeville. And to present this evening's report, I invite Senior Planner Joanne Rogers to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. Good evening. Through the chair, as indicated by Superintendent Thomas, the report before you outlines the boundary adjustment between St. Benedict and St. Andrew Catholic Elementary Schools in the town of Orangeville. On an annual basis, the planning department undertakes a review of school boundaries and recommends potential changes to reduce enrollment pressures and to balance enrollment in neighborhood schools. This year, planning staff have identified that a boundary adjustment is required at St. Benedict Catholic Elementary School. There are 3 elementary schools in the town of Orangeville. The chart on page 22 shows the school statistics of each of these 3 schools for St. Benedict, St. Andrew, and St. Peter. You can see that St. Benedict currently operates at 123% utilization on a 4.2 acre site with 6 portables. 6 portables is the maximum number of portables that can be accommodated here due to the site limitations. St. Andrew operates at 100% utilization on a 9 acre site with 1 existing portable, and St. Peter operates at 83% utilization on a 3 acre site with very limited space for portables. The purpose of this boundary adjustment is to alleviate enrollment pressures at St. Benedict and to balance the enrollment over the long term, starting in September 2023, by redirecting elementary students from the Grand Valley community who attend St. Benedict to St. Andrew Elementary School. The status quo enrollment projections on page 23 show St. Benedict growing to 685 students in the next 5 years, or 143% utilization. The population of Grand Valley is projected to increase to 141 students as a result of migration to the area and new residential development. And as previously noted, St. Benedict is at its maximum capacity for portables, which is 6 portables. Therefore, they cannot accommodate any additional growth. At St. Andrew, however, it is situated on a 9 acre site and can accommodate upwards of 12 portables. There are currently 2 available classrooms in the building and 1 portable on site. Redirecting the students from Grand Valley to St. Andrew will alleviate the accommodation pressures at St. Benedict and reduce the projected enrollment to 544 students, or 114% utilization, which can be accommodated in the existing building and portables. St. Andrew has the capacity to add up to 12 portables, and up to 6 portables could be required over the next 5 years. On November 1st, planning staff, along with the area trustee, family of school superintendent, superintendent of planning and operations, and the principals of St. Benedict and St. Andrew, hosted a community open house at St. Andrew to present the information to the affected families. There were approximately 15 families from Grand Valley who attended the open house. The major concerns that were identified by the community were why the Grand Valley community was being redirected and not another community in Dufferin County, whether or not grade 7 students could remain at St. Benedict for grade 8, and also the impact of the boundary adjustment on the mental health of students. Families were advised that any grade 7 students who currently attend St. Benedict have the option to remain there to complete grade 8. However, transportation would not be provided by a Dufferin Peel. The principal of St. Andrew also provided a tour of the school for families that evening. Both principals assure families that they would work together to ease the transition for new students who will be attending St. Andrew. In conclusion, planning staff recommends that the new boundary be effective September 2023, whereby students from Grand Valley will be redirected from St. Benedict to St. Andrew to alleviate the accommodation pressures that St. Benedict is facing. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions that trustees may have.
Thank you, Joanne. Any questions? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. Daniel, we're done?
Thank you. Through the chair, we move on.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne. Through the chair, we move on to item G3, which is revision to the hosting areas affecting St. Bridget, St. Rita, and St. Aidan Catholic Elementary Schools. And prior to inviting Superintendent Thomas to present the report, I ask for receipt.
Move receipt. Anybody would like to move receipt on this one? Anybody? Who's Frank DeCosta? Moves by Frank. Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. And through the chair, I'm going to continue passing off the presentation of reports. This time up is Planner Christina Coops, who's going to present the report, which starts on page number 26 of your agenda package.
Thank you, Christina. It's yours. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you. And through the chair, as indicated by Superintendent Thomas, the report before you outlines an additional 2 boundary changes for the 2023-2024 school year. So St. Bridget has been hosting the Bramwest 1A community since 2003. As development in the surrounding communities proceeded, the student yields have not been sufficient to require an additional school. Upon review of the future projections, it's expected that enrollments at St. Bridget will remain stable with sufficient capacity for students from Bramwest 1A. The boundary change will recognize the existing situation by permanently directing the students to St. Bridget. Appendix 1 of the report shows the map of the new proposed boundary. The second boundary change is to create a new hosting area from the St. Aidan rural boundary. Mayfield West Phase 2 is a community that's located in Caledon and is between Chinguacousy Road and Highway 10. The new development plan proposes over 5,500 residential units and 1 Catholic elementary school site has been reserved. The development is proceeding and a new host area will be required for this community. St. Aidan is currently operating with a utilization of 100%, and by comparison, St. Rita is operating at a utilization of 55%. St. Rita has sufficient capacity to host students living in the Mayfield West number 2 area at this time, and this boundary change will also help alleviate some of the enrollment pressures at St. Aidan. Appendix 2 shows the Mayfield West community in relation to St. Rita. The secondary students will continue to attend St. Edmund Campion. In conclusion, planning staff's recommending that these 2 boundary changes become effective for the next school year ahead of kindergarten registrations. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions at all?
Mr. Chair, I just have one
Mario.
question.
I have a question, Mario.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anna, correct? Anna?
Yeah, there was someone else saying
Yeah,
something.
no. I want to make sure it was you. So I have.
Yeah, could I just get some clarification on the map? So
Anna,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let me get Daryl first. He put his name forward.
Sure.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it. Daryl?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question. We're saying that we're going to redirect St. Aidan students to St. Rita, but St. Aidan is barely at 100%, and it's not been over capacity for some time now.
So through the chair, St. Aidan is currently hosting the Mount Pleasant 3 area, in addition to the entire rural boundary, which actually goes up into Caledon, up to Old School Road. So there's 5,500 units that are proposed for this brand new community and called Mayfield West. Once those 5,500 houses are built and students come in, we're anticipating a large number of students, and therefore we needed to redirect them.
So do we have a timeline as to when those units are going to come up and be populated?
So it's already under through the chair. I apologize. It's currently under construction. So there's already 1 subdivision that has been complete, and we are already seeing a few students registering at our schools from within that community.
do we have any numbers to show us what is the anticipated increase in St. Aidan's population?
So on page 27 of the report, St. Aidan will continue to operate at 100% within the next 5 years.
And Aidan happens to be a holding school for a new school that's going to come up.
So through the chair, we have not conducted the boundary for the new school that's proposed. Potentially a portion of these students, but not all of them will be redirected to the new school.
I'm just wondering whether we've not planned that aspect of it in terms of the boundary and how many students will leave. Because then once a new school comes up, Aidan's then going to be at 40 or 50% of capacity, and that's not very reasonable to make this change without having those numbers available first with us.
So through the chair, the proposed projections are shown on page 27 of the report. So currently we have 2 students, and over the long run, we're expecting close to 290 students.
Correct, but what's the number of students that are holding for the new school that's going to come up?
So we have not, through the chair, we have not conducted the boundary analysis as of yet, because the new school is actually located within the holding area of St. Daniel Comboni. So as we start that process, we will look at how we're drawing the boundaries, and I do not believe all of the students from the Mount Pleasant area will be redirected. They will continue to be holding at St. Aidan.
Okay, I'm just wondering whether taking a decision now without having a projection for those numbers and setting up those boundaries for the new school is the right thing to do. Because all we're doing is redirecting students and then.
So through the chair, there's currently only a handful of students, and we're anticipating an additional 50 for next year. So if you look at the map, the Mayfield West community is actually located much closer to the St. Rita community than it is to St. Aidan. And it helps balance out the enrollments at St. Rita as well, because as I mentioned, they're operating at 55%.
Yeah, Rita needs to grow. I fully agree with that. But Aidan is currently at 100%. We normally run schools at 120, 130%, and we're fine. So by moving children out of Aidan to another school in anticipation that the new development is going to bring in students, as well as not knowing as to how many students we are holding for the new school to come up, becomes a little questionable, is what I'm saying.
So through the chair, the students aren't there today. So St. Aidan's operating at 100% with, I believe there's actually 4 students within this area. So there's only 4 students currently being generated from this new development.
So through the chair, if I may, just to get back to your question, Trustee D'Souza, I think it's a fair point to say that there are still some anticipated changes that are going to be coming our way with respect to the proposed development in Mayfield West. What we're trying to do at this point is to we're trying to do a couple of things. One, we're trying to help St. Rita with its current situation in terms of its enrollment decline and filling that school up, which is a fairly large school when you look at its overall capacity. St. Aidan, yes, it could operate at 110, 120, absolutely, but it has been consistently at 100 and it's projected to remain that way over the coming years. So we feel that it's robust enough, the enrollment is robust enough at St. Aidan that this particular change really won't make an impact, and we will continue to see that area remain pretty vibrant. Yes, it's true that we also have to make the boundary adjustment that's going to impact the new Mount Pleasant school down the road. But again, we are anticipating that as we consider all of these changes in the next 5 to 10 years, as Planner Coops mentioned, that there will be sufficient enrollment to keep St. Aidan thriving, and also to ensure that St. Rita has a bit of a bump in its enrollment, and also to ensure that the new Mount Pleasant Catholic Elementary School gets off to a good start. As with any new development, there's always the potential for some movement, but the team has looked at, the enrollment, projected enrollment overall across all of the areas that are under this study. And again, this is their proposal to try and rebalance some of the enrollment. Again, noting that the Mayfield West development is just in its infancy right now, but wanting to get ahead of what we expect to be significant growth in the coming years.
Thank you, Superintendent Thomas. I was just looking at these projections. So if we look at the chart on page 27, it shows, just give me a second, I lost it. Yeah, on page 27, it shows that Rita is at 410 and the rural holding, Aidan rural holding is at 2 students today, which is St. Rita's projections. And when you look at Aidan's projections, it's at 265. We are holding 170 for Mount Pleasant number 3. And rural holding is at 2. So today we're talking of 2 students moving to St. Rita's in the next year. If
Through
we
the
go
chair,
up, sorry, yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, through the chair, that number is going to grow to 48 though, almost 50 for next year.
Yeah, correct. So 48 and 23 and then 111 and then it goes to 289. And Mount Pleasant holding numbers go to 299. So by 2026, St. Aidan Catholic Community is going to be at 218 and its capacity is at 437. This is what your projections show in the charts. So we're basically reducing Aidan by 50% by making this change, right? Or by agreeing on this change today. Just what the charts are explaining.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, so is that something that we're looking at? We want
So
to do
through
an
the chair,
extension
having the capacity go up to 185 is something that this is why we were trying to balance the enrollment, because that is quite high to have the enrollment of the school go up to 800 while the capacity of the school is only 435.
Correct, but you're by agreeing on this change today, you're going to bring that capacity down to 50%.
So through the chair, I would just note,
Just looking at numbers.
Sure, but through the chair, as Planner Coops noted, the boundary for Mount Pleasant, the new Mount Pleasant Catholic Elementary School hasn't been finalized yet. So there's a process that the planning team will have to go through to define those boundaries. And so they may have to make adjustments to make sure that St. Aidan's, whatever the outcome of that is, ensures that there is sufficient enrollment that doesn't impact St. Aidan too significantly. Like, again, if you were to look at St. Aidan on its own, going forward, or even over the next 5 years, irrespective of what happens with the new Mount Pleasant School, it is the intent is to try to keep that school as robust and as vibrant as possible. What the team has to do is really consider how the new Mount Pleasant Catholic Elementary School will have to be, how those boundaries will have to be defined in such a way to not impact in a negative way the utilization at St. Aidan, but also to make sure that we're capturing all of the new development that's in the immediate area of that particular, of where that particular school is to be constructed. So when we set out to, to put forward a capital priorities business case to the ministry, we have to be able to demonstrate to the Ministry of Education that there is sufficient enrollment projected over the coming years to justify the ministry agreeing to provide capital funding to build a new school. And so perhaps it may not entirely be, evident through the numbers presented on page 27. It's perhaps something that we can bring back to provide a more comprehensive overview, but rest assured that in terms of putting together that business case and receiving the funding approval from the ministry for that project in Mount Pleasant, that the ministry would not be approving projects if they noticed that the neighboring schools were experiencing or projected to experience a significant decline in enrollment.
Yeah, I mean, what we give the ministry is projections anyway. It's not that we give them facts. So today, what we're looking at is again projections, but what's being presented basically is cannibalizing Aiden, and we're losing and we're moving children to Rita's, and we will be moving those 299 in 2026 or whenever we get that new school to the new school, because that needs to be up to capacity. Only then we're going to get funding from a projection perspective. So if staff believe this is the best thing to do, okay, fine. Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate it. Anna, it's yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. On page, I just want to get some clarity around these numbers that I see here. So at St. Bridget's, it looks in the chart on page 27. Okay, it's got St. Bridget, 2022. This is this year. There's 148 students and 58. Are you saying that 58 of those students are students that are coming from the area that we're allocating as Brampton West, which is they're hosted. They're the 58 are the hosted students. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, so you've got this projection all the way across to 2026. Why is it going all the way to 2026? Why are we projecting Brampton West across to 2026?
Through the chair, the planning team is demonstrating that the enrollment, the projected number of students in that Bram West 1A hosting area is going to remain fairly similar. We're not anticipating a significant change. And as a result, it's part of the rationale for why the planning department is recommending that the existing sort of temporary boundary that we've included for Bram West 1A being part of St. Bridget remain that way going forward, because we're not anticipating there to be much of a significant change going forward. So that's why you see that 5-year trend.
Okay, so look at St. Bridget. It's at 148 right now. It's going to go up to I don't know when the school's going to be built, but 165, 158, and then down to 148. That school has capacity for 467 pupil stage. So we're bringing, if you start to eliminate the group, the Brampton West numbers, we're going to bring that school down below capacity, like way below capacity. And, that's a problem. Not only is it's a problem because, we're under capacity, but that whole area, we are under capacity. St. Kevin, St. Pauline Vanier is under capacity. It's at 145 students for a building that was originally, built for 600. And I believe now we're getting rid of the porta pack. So it's going to be at 400, but we're still really below. St. Alphonsus still hasn't, gone to capacity. St. Monica's at capacity, but we have the extended French. Our Lady of Peace is under capacity. St. Kevin's is under capacity. So why are we moving people that are actually much closer to St. Bridget all the way up to this new Brampton West School when it doesn't make sense to me? We'll be having to bus them all the way up there.
So
It'll
through
be
the
costing
chair,
us more, and we're reducing the capacity, we're reducing the numbers to St. Bridget's. Why are you making that decision and making that plan to move them out of the area?
Superintendent Thomas.
so through the chair, if I may, just clarify one of the statements you made there, Trustee De Silva. Just to be clear, these students in the Bram West 1A area are currently going to St. Bridget. We're
Correct,
not planning any change, and we're not planning to build any new schools in that area either.
right.
So basically, we're not siphoning off or removing any children. They
So
would
what are you
continue.
doing?
So what happened in the past was the planning department basically set up a temporary hosting area called Bram West 1A for new residential development. And as that development came on stream, as they normally do with new residential developments, they'll set up temporary holding or hosting areas. And we just talked about one in the previous report where students from that area may go to a designated school for a certain amount of time until such time as there may be sufficient enrollment to make a business case to the Ministry of Education for a future school. In this particular case, there is not a projection for a huge rise in enrollment. So we're not going to be going to the ministry for any future capital funding requests. We're not looking to build more capacity. So to your point, Trustee De Silva, we are not looking to put more capacity on stream, to build more capacity here. All we're doing is we're taking an existing temporary hosting boundary and essentially recommending that this be made permanent.
Okay, well, I'm in complete agreement with that because it was confusing when you were providing the report and combining everything, and it sounded to me like you were moving them all to this new area, or that they were being combined somehow. So okay, so thank you for clarifying that, because that would be disastrous if we were doing that. So thank you, that's fine, I'm happy with that. Yeah,
You're
and
welcome.
that should be, because in the past, I've always said that south of Queen should stay within the, we should have all the boundaries that are south of Queen should be going, eastbound towards the schools, because we've had, we're having trouble in that area with getting the kind of students that we need for Catholic schools. So it would defeat the purpose of being able to be sustainable. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for your input. Thank you for your assistance in this. Any other questions? Seeing none. Daniel?
Thank you through the chair. Excuse me. We move on to item G4, which is the retirement letter for Principal Herman Beloria. And prior to inviting Director Mazzarato to present the letter, I ask for receipt.
Move receipt. Anyone?
I move, Thomas.
Thomas, moved by receipt by Thomas. Any opposed? Seeing none. Daniel? Oh, sorry, Marianne.
Thank you. And before trustees this evening is the retirement letter for Herman Beloria, who's currently the principal of St. Margaret of Deville. Herman's been an educator with the board for 37 years, and he signed his contract in 1985 when Brian Fleming was the director, and the chair of the board was Robert Hall. And as there was no CEC, he drove to the board's rented space at Queensway near Cawthra, and he's worked with 5 directors of education. He began his career at St. Thomas Aquinas, which is now Holy Name, where he taught math and computer studies. He was a department head of computer studies at Father Gates when students were shuffled between 2 campuses. He was appointed as acting principal before becoming VP at Cardinal Leger, and then he became principal of Ascension of Our Lord and was there for 10 years. He was then transferred to adult and continuing education for 5 years and was transferred to St. Margaret Deville, where he spent the last 6 years. When the community of Ascension of Our Lord moved into the new building, he used his talent as an artist to create the stained glass window in the chapel. It took him over 8 months to create the window, which was designed by James Flaherty. Herman enjoyed his time in continuing ed as well, revising the cooperative education program for new Canadians who would often gain employment from their cooperative education placements. He'll be spending his retirement as a school trustee and returning to his hobby of stained glass, his love of traveling, and recreating Monet's garden in his own backyard, as he's an avid gardener. His calm demeanor, his faith in Jesus Christ, his love of children, his fashionable bow ties will be greatly missed.
Thank you very
That
much.
letter is there before you.
And we've moved,
We
I
already
move-
moved receipt.
I moved with regret.
with regrets, please let this show regrets. And I think, Daniel, where are we at now?
So through the chair, if there's nothing more on G4, we move on to item H1, which is the revised policy 5.25 student trustees. And prior to inviting Superintendent Lewis to present the report, I ask for receipt.
Move receipt by.
And there will be an action item on this as well. So, but receipt for now and to Superintendent Lewis.
Who would like to move receipt?
I'll move receipt,
Thank you,
trustee
Trustee Morgan.
Episucci.
Thank you. Any opposed? None, thank you. Martine?
Good evening, and through the chair, I'm bringing forward tonight policy 5.25 student trustees. The student trustee policy outlines the number of qualifications, election, and other procedures supporting the student trustees in Dufferin Peel. Previously, this policy limited eligibility of student trustees to students who are baptized Catholic. However, on October 6, 2022, ruling by the Ontario Superior Court of Justice indicated that the York Catholic District School Board's policy restricting representation based on religion could not be upheld. Having such a policy in place discriminates against students who are not Roman Catholic. Therefore, we've removed the requirement to be baptized Catholic from the policy 5.25 student trustees. On page 2 of the policy, we've removed the line baptized Catholic. However, the policy still reflects the requirements of student trustees to participate in dialogue and lead from a Catholic perspective. So the recommendation is the Administration and Finance Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees that the received policy 5.25 student trustees be approved and enacted as amended. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, we move receipt. Questions regarding, before we move the change, any questions? No questions? Okay, move receipt of, can you read the motion, Martine?
Sorry. Administration and Finance Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees that revised policy 5.25 student trustees be approved and enacted as amended.
Thank you. No questions? Okay, who's going to move? Who would like to move? Anybody? You're a quiet bunch tonight. Jeez. Hannah, you'd like to move that?
No, I don't want to move it, Mario.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll move it.
Moved by trustee Anika. Any
I'll
discussion?
move it.
Well, I already recognized Bruno, so Frank, sorry about that. Bruno, moved by Bruno. Anybody want to speak to the motion? All in favor? Oh, sorry, opposed? Any opposed? Seeing one, okay, seeing that. Any opposed? I see two.
Mario, I'm opposed.
Yeah, I understand. I see two hands. Thomas.
Yeah, 2 hands.
Okay, no one else is opposed? Okay, moved. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, Bruno, for moving it, and we moved it forward. Okay, next, Daniel.
So thank you through the chair. We have no notices of motion, no additional business. We move on to item K, which is questions asked of and by board trustees.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Sharon, please.
Holden.
Please, thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is around technology. I've been attending school council meetings this last little while, and each school council meeting, we're talking about Chromebooks. And the fact, I did attend one the other night where there is as many as 60 Chromebooks that may be coming to end of life. And my concern is that we do not have the ability to be replacing these en masse. And I'm sure that I just have a few school councils I've been attending I'm sure the other trustees must be hearing this as well. And now it's come back to, school councils and school communities talking about raising money to begin replacing over time these Chromebooks. So I'm just wondering if I could ask, first of all, where are we with Chromebooks in terms of, do we know how many are going to come to end of life? And I have another question after that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Who would you like the question directed to, please? Okay, thank you, Danny.
I'll navigate the first part of it anyway. So just as a bit of a refresher for trustees and anybody listening, when a Chromebook is identified as end of life, it doesn't mean that it's falling apart or it doesn't start. It just means that it no longer receives security updates. And if it doesn't receive security updates, just like your iPhone or any other device you have, that means it becomes a liability on our network because its security is not kept up to date. So while it may look fine, it may open up fine, it could start fine, it just means that that it's not receiving any more security updates and becomes a liability. And that's in large part what end of life means. So we track them all. We've tracked everyone we've purchased. We've tracked the ones the schools have purchased. So we do have that number. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can definitely share it with trustees. But it is absolutely a challenge. It's been a challenge in the past. It's definitely going to be a challenge moving forward because we've had an influx of funding from the ministry over the course of the last couple of years, in part due to COVID or other initiatives. But there's never been kind of a back end replenishing plan by the ministry. They're quick to say we're providing funding, which is fantastic for 4,000, 5,000 Chromebooks, which we then distribute out to the system. And then what happens is when they become end of life after 4 or 5 years, we don't have that same amount of funding to support that. So it is a challenge. We're working with schools, the finance team, the ICT team to work out kind of a replenishing plan based on schools' existing budgets. So we share with administrators, here's how many Chromebooks you have, here's how many coming up to end of life, and let's help you put a plan in place so if you have to buy 25 every year or 30 every year or 10 every year, depending on the size of your school, how we can help you work out those finances. But it is an absolute challenge. There is no answer to it, unfortunately. There's no pot of money that comes from, there's the initial pot that comes from the ministry, and it's not just Chromebooks, it's for smart boards and any iPads, any technology in our school. It's fantastic that we receive the initial funds, and then the schools receive the products or the devices. But when they become end of life, then the school boards are on the hook to try to navigate how to replenish those. And it's unless the funding levels stay consistent, which they don't because they're one-off, it remains a challenge. But the team, again, ICT and finance, have been working together with the principals to say, this is maybe a plan you can put into place, knowing full well what comes up at end of life every single year and how we can replenish that. But it will be a challenge. There's no easy answer to your question, Trustee Hogan.
And I appreciate that because we've had this conversation before. And I guess it's just because it's a consistent conversation that's happening with the school councils, and it's large numbers. And of course, the students and the staff, the teachers, educators have become very used to having the Chromebooks in their classrooms to use. And it also is a bit of a crisis, really, when we almost went back to synchronous learning and we didn't have the devices to give to our students, and it becomes almost an equity issue. So I will, going forward, send a note to Superintendent Max Vaccarino that this should be included in an OXTA resolution. I'm not sure when that will come before the board. I may not be at the board at that point, but I think it's an important note that it is a it is an important funding that we need in technology in order to carry on actually the important goals of education. So I'll do that to Superintendent Baxterino, and then hopefully it will be approved at the board at some point.
Okay,
Thank you so
Anna?
much.
Sorry, you had some other, you had one other item. Is that covered in there?
That's all, Miriam.
Okay, thank you very much. Anna, it's yours, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mario,
To this point,
Mr.
to this
Chair.
point.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to this point, I wanted to ask, what do we do with the Chromebooks once they're deemed, end of life or whatever the term is? What do we do with them through the chair?
So through the chair, we have an RFP out, and we have a company or companies, depending on when it is, that will dispose of them for us.
They dispose of them, eh?
Yeah.
And how many years what's the typical lifespan?
Through the chair, I want to say it's about 5 years.
Okay, so these that we are talking about are about 5 years old then?
Yeah, they'll be 4 or 5 years old.
They would have been bought before we bought the ones for the pandemic and all of that.
Correct. I mean, we have a rolling, through the chair, we have a rolling inventory because we purchase every year. So there's always devices coming up, and depending on how many a school has purchased in any given year, you know, 4 years from now, that set of Chromebooks is coming up for end of life.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Any other questions? Seeing none, but just one quick comment, Daniel. Thank you very much, and getting a new printer hopefully this week. So thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions? Seeing none, it's yours, Daniel. We're going into camera.
So thank you. Through the chair, we move on to item L, which is their declared interest item. So those trustees that have a declared interest will be moved into a waiting room while we deal with the item.
May I hand over the chair position to Sharon Hogan, if you don't mind, please? Chairman? No, you don't want it?
No, so sorry. I'm also.
No, that's right. That's right. You have an interest. You have an interest.
Yes.
Lose, please, if you don't mind.
Lose had to leave the
through
meeting.
chair.
Thomas, is that okay? Actually, can you do chair for now, Thomas?
Thomas?
I can do that. No problem.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, again.
So I will move the 3 trustees that have identified a declared interest into the waiting room. We'll deal with the item, and then we'll bring you back into the
Thank you
meeting.
very much. Thank you.
And Trustee Thomas, I will let you know once the 3 have left. Trustee Hoban, you may be prompted to accept the Okay, through the chair, we move on to the declared interest items, which was L1, minutes of the Administration and Finance Committee meeting of October 4th, 2022.
Okay. Moved by Frank. Anybody oppose? It's carried. Okay.
All right, through the chair, just
Okay.
a minute here. I will bring them all back. They're coming back. Through the chair, they are all back. Yep.
We have the chair back to you. Mario. Mario. The chair back
Trustee
to you.
Pascucci is on mute at the moment.
You have to unmute, Mario.
Mario, you are still muted. What happened? Mario? Still mute.
Send him a message in the chat. He might
Yeah.
see it. He's
Okay, can you see me now?
Yes. There we go.
Yeah, I could hear all of you guys, and yes, you can send me a message through chat. I could hear you, but I couldn't get to it. I apologize for that. Oh, man, a man without an agenda is really tough.
So
Go ahead, please.
through the chair, we're all back. We need a motion to move in camera.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion move into camera by Anna De Silva. Actually, do you mind if I have Frank DeCosta? He hasn't had his name a couple of times on the agenda tonight. Frank, move into us. You're good. Okay, Frank's gonna move us into it in camera. And any opposed? See none. Thank you. Okay,
So
Daniel.
through the chair, in a moment, you will all receive a invitation to move in camera. Those that would typically leave us at this time, you are more than welcome to leave us. And everybody else will be moved into the in-camera meeting. And we'll reconvene with the public once in camera is done.
Okay, can you hear me? Thank you, everybody. Daniel, what would you like to know?
So through the chair, we are on to item N on the public agenda, which is rise and report.
Rise report, we dealt with two items, approval of the minutes. What was the date of the minutes there?
October 4th, 2022.
And a personnel matter. Okay, move adjournment, Mr. Chair.
We need receipt of that.
Oh, so receipt. Anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none, seeing none.
I'll move receipt, Mario.
Move receipt, sorry, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, it's Trustee Hoban. I just want to make note that this is, I believe, the last official meeting of Trustee De Silva, Trustee DeCosala, and Trustee Hoban. And behalf of all of us, I believe we want to wish you all the best, but unless there's another, special meeting coming up, but I believe this is our last official meeting. So God bless everybody.
I'm going to cry. I'm crying. I'm going to be so sad. I've been crying.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
With regrets. Yeah.
It's wonderful having you guys here, and I'm glad we're such a young family.
Yeah.
Well, we're working right to the last minute, eh, guys?
Well, we still got another hour to go before midnight. So here we go. God bless you, everybody. Have a great one.
God bless.
Take
Thank
care
you.
of
It's been a
yourself.
pleasure, everybody. It has been a pleasure.